Okay. Om Jnanatamurandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Keshava Bharati Das Goswami Niti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadishatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. So, we're reading from the Science of Self-Realization, Chapter 6. I think this is Section D. It is called The Peace Formula. I distribute this book on the street, and I usually mention this chapter to people because they ask me, what do these books got? And I say, they got the peace formula. So I'm not lying, it's right here. And we'll get going. The earth is the property of God, but we, the living entities, especially the so-called civilized human beings, are claiming God's property as our own, under both an individual and collective false conception. If you want peace, you have to remove this false conception from your mind and from the world. The great mistake of modern civilization is to encroach upon others' property as though it were one's own, and to thereby create an unnecessary disturbance of the laws of nature. These laws are very strong. No living entity can violate them. Only one who is Krishna conscious can easily. Sorry, I just got a message from John. Yeah, he asked me to send him the message, the invitation to another number. So let me just stop my screen share so I can send that out to him. Let's see. Okay. Sorry for the interruption. Hey, Antonio's here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, how are you?
I can't complain.
Awesome.
All here as an association now.
Awesome. It's
Okay.
nice to be here.
I just had to pause because John asked me to send the invitation to a different number. So
John Anderson?
yeah, honestly.
Oh, finally, yay.
Gotta get him plugged in.
I know, I talked to him yesterday. I was like, come on.
All right, here we go. I'll just restart this paragraph. The great mistake of modern civilization is to encroach upon others' property as though it were one's own, and to thereby create an unnecessary disturbance of the laws of nature. These laws are very strong. No living entity can violate them. Only one who is Krishna conscious can easily remove or overcome the stringency of the laws of nature and thus become happy and peaceful in the world. As a state is protected by the Department of Law and Order, so the state of universe, of which this earth is only an insignificant fragment, is protected by the laws of nature. This material nature is one of the different potencies of God, who is the ultimate proprietor of everything that be. This earth is, therefore, the property of God, but we, the living entities, especially the so-called civilized human beings, are claiming God's property as our own, under both an individual and collective false conception. If you want peace, you have to remove this false conception from your mind and from the world. This false claim of proprietorship by the human race is partly or wholly the cause of all disturbances of peace on earth. Foolish and so-called civilized men are claiming proprietary rights on the property of God because they have now become godless. You cannot be happy and peaceful in a godless society. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that he is the factual enjoyer of all activities of the living entities, that he is the supreme Lord of all universes, and that he is the well-wishing friend of all beings. When the people of the world know this as the formula for peace, it is then and there that peace will prevail. Okay, so this is the peace formula he's stating, that he is the factual enjoyer of all activities of the living entities. He is the supreme Lord of all universes and the well-wishing friend of all beings. Therefore, if you want peace at all, you will have to change your consciousness into Krishna consciousness, both individually and collectively, by the simple process of chanting the holy name of God. This is a standard and recognized process for achieving peace in the world. We therefore recommend that everyone become Krishna conscious by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is practical, simple, and sublime. 480 years ago, this formula was introduced in India by Lord Sri Chaitanya, and now it is available in your country. Take to this simple process of chanting as above mentioned. Realize your factual position by reading the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and re-establish your lost relationship with Krishna, God. Peace and prosperity will be the immediate worldwide result. So that section is based on the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 29. There's a verse in there where Krishna says, Bhoktaram yagitapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam yatva mam shantam richati. And that's what he states here, the peace formula, that he is the true enjoyer or the proprietor of all sacrifice or activities, everything that one is doing. He's actually the one who is the enjoyer of those things. He's the one who they should be done for. And that he's the supreme controller of all the universes and all the demigods as well. And he states that he's the well-wishing friend of all living beings. And he says, and Krishna says that one who knows this can actually become peaceful. So that's not just Prabhupada's statement of what is the peace formula, that's what Krishna is saying is the peace formula. Hey, Honest John tuned in. Hare Krishna. It's getting better and better. You're on mute. Oh, anyway, we'll just carry on. We're going to hear some spiritual communism. That's still a popular idea, I guess, to some people, communism. And now it's taken mainly the shape of, it's like, what's it called? Socialism. I think that's like the soft light version of communism, but it ends up culminating in communism. And I meet people on the street sometimes when I'm distributing books, and they're still out there pushing. They got their magazines and their communist propaganda they're trying to share. But Srila Prabhupada gives the proper form of communism, which is not the state in the center. During his visit to the Soviet Union in 1971, Srila Prabhupada talks with Professor Grigory, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Kotovsky, head of the India Department of the USSR Academy of Sciences. Whether you surrender to monarchy, aristocracy, or dictatorship, you have to surrender. That is a fact. Without surrender, there is no life. It is not possible. So we are educating people to surrender to the Supreme, wherefrom you get all protection. Any other surrender you have to change, any other surrender you have to change by revolution. But when you come to Krishna, then it is sufficient. You are satisfied. Prabhupada. The other day, I was reading the paper, Moscow News. There was a communist congress, and the president declared, "We are ready to take others' experience to improve." So I think the Vedic concept of socialism or communism will much improve the idea of communism. For example, in a socialistic state, the idea is that no one should starve. Everyone must have his food. Similarly, in the Vedic concept of grihastha, householder life, it is recommended that a householder see that even a lizard or a snake living in his house should not starve. Even these lower creatures should be given food, and certainly all humans should. All humans should. It is recommended that the grihastha, before taking his lunch, stand on the road and declare, "If anyone is still hungry, please come. Food is ready." If there is no response, then the proprietor of the household takes his lunch. Modern society takes the people as a whole, as the proprietor of a certain state. But the Vedic conception is Isha va samidam sarvam. Ishopanishad Mantra 1. Everything is owned by Isha, the supreme controller. Tena tena bunjita. You may enjoy what is allotted to you by him. Magrida kasyasviddanam. But do not encroach upon others' property. This is the Ishopanishad, Veda. The idea is explained in the different Puranas. The same idea is explained in the different Puranas. There are many good concepts in the Vedic literature about communism, so I thought that these ideas should be distributed to your most thoughtful men. Therefore, I was anxious to speak. Professor Kutovsky. It is interesting that here in our country there is now great interest in the history of old thought. From this point of view, our institute translated into Russian and published many literary monuments of great Indian culture. You will be interested to discover that we published some of the Puranas and parts of the Ramayana. There are volumes in Russian of Mahabharata, and also a second edition of Mahabharata translated in full. We have also published the full translation of Manusmriti with Sanskrit commentaries. Interest in these publications was so great that they sold out in a week. They are now completely out of stock. It was impossible to get them in the book market after a month. There is great interest among reading people here in Moscow and the USSR toward ancient Vedic culture, and from this point of view, we published many such books. Srila Prabhupada. Among these Puranas, the Srimad Bhagavatam is called the Mahapurana. Professor Kotovsky. Mahapurana? Srila Prabhupada, yes. We have translated the full text. First, we present the original Sanskrit text, its transliteration, the English equivalent for each word, then the translation, and then a purport or explanation of the verse. In this way, there are 18,000 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. We are translating everything literally. You can see each and every verse is being done like that for the whole Bhagavat Purana. The opinion of the Acharyas, the great saintly sages, who are the preachers of the Bhagavat philosophy, is Nigamakalpatarur Kalitam Balam. This is the ripened fruit of the Vedic desire tree, Bhagavatam 113. It is accepted by all the Indian scholars, and Lord Chaitanya especially preached this Bhagavatam. So we have the complete Bhagavatam in its English translation. If you want to see it, I can show you. Professor Kutovsky. It seems to me that in Moscow and Leningrad libraries, we have nearly all the major texts of ancient Indian culture, beginning from the Vedas, the original text in Sanskrit. For instance, in the Leningrad branch of our institute, there are 6 or 8 editions of Manusmriti. This institute was founded in Imperial Russia in Leningrad. So in Leningrad we now have a branch of our institute dealing mainly with the history of Asiatic culture. We will find here an account of what is being translated and what studies are being done on the history of Indian religion and also the state of Indian religion, Hinduism, in Hindu India today. Srila Prabhupada, Hinduism is a very complex topic. Professor Katowski, oh yes, really, to my understanding, it is not a religion. From the European point of view, it is a way of life. Religion, a philosophy, a way of life, whatever you want. Srila Prabhupada, this word Hindu is not a Sanskrit word. It was given by the Mohammedans. You know that there is a river, Indus, which in Sanskrit is called Sindhu. The Mohammedans pronounce S and as H. Instead of Sindhu, they made it Hindu. So Hindu is a term that is not found in the Sanskrit dictionary, but it has come into use. But the real cultural institution is called Varnashrama. There are 4 Varnas, social divisions, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and 4 ashrams, spiritual divisions, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. According to the Vedic concept of life, unless people take to this system or institution of 4 Varnas and 4 ashrams, actually, they do not become civilized human beings. One has to take this process of 4 divisions of social orders and 4 divisions of spiritual orders. That is called Varnashram. India's culture is based on this age-old Vedic system. Professor Katowski, Varnashram. Srila Prabhupada, Varnashram. And in Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, perhaps you have read the Bhagavad Gita. Professor, yes. Srila Prabhupada. There in the Bhagavad Gita 4.13 is the statement, Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam. This system was created by Vishnu, God. So since Varnashram is a creation of the Supreme, it cannot be changed. It is prevalent everywhere. It is like the sun. The sun is a creation of the Supreme. The sunshine is there in America, in Russia, and in India, everywhere. Similarly, this Varnashram system is prevalent everywhere in some form or another. Take, for example, the Brahmanas, the most intelligent class of men. Hold on 1 second. Hey, I joined the call too. Hare Krishna. And check who's in the Zoom room with us. Okay. So the most intelligent class of men, they are the brains of the society. The Kshatriyas are the administrative class. Then the Vaishyas are the productive class, and the Shudras are the worker class. These 4 classes of men are prevalent everywhere, under different names. Because it is created by the original creator, so it is prevalent everywhere. Varnashram Dharma. Professor, it is interesting that in the opinion of some European and Old Russian scholars, this Varnashram system is a later creation. And if you would read the old texts of Vedic literature, you would find a much more simple and agrarian society. It is the opinion of these scholars that the Varnashram system was introduced in Indian society in the late age of the Vedic era, but not from the beginning. And if you would analyze the old text, you would find that in the old classical India, it was not so prevalent. Srila Prabhupada, as far as we are concerned, it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam. Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5,000 years ago, and in the Bhagavad Gita it is said, this system of the Bhagavad Gita was spoken to me, or by me, to the sun god. So if you take an estimation of that period, it comes to 40 million years ago. Can the European scholars trace back history 5,000 years? Can they go back 40 million years? We have evidence that this Varnashram system has been current at least 5,000 years. The Varnashram system is also mentioned in the Vishnu Purana 389. Varnashramacharavata, Varnashramacharavata Purushena Parapuman. That it is stated in the Vishnu Purana, Varnashram Dharma is not a phenomenon of a historical period calculated in the modern age. It is natural. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the comparison is given that just as in the body there are 4 divisions, the brain division, the arms division, the belly division and the leg division. So by nature's way, these four divisions are existing in the social body. There exists a class of men who are considered the brain, a class of men who are considered the arms of the state, a class of men who are called the productive class, and so on. There is no need of tracing history. It is naturally existing from the day of creation. Professor Kutovsky, you have said that in any society there are four divisions, but they are not so easy to distinguish. For instance, one can group together different social classes and professional groups into four divisions in any society. There's no difficulty. The only difficulty is, for instance, in the socialistic society, in our country and other socialist societies, how you can distinguish the productive group from the workers. How can you, or how you can? Srila Prabhupada, for example, we belong to the intellectual class of men. This is a division. Professor, intelligent class, Brahmanas. And you can also put together all the intelligentsia in that department. Yes. And then the administrative class. Yes. But who are the Vaishyas and Shudras? That is the difficulty, because all others are workers, factory workers, collective farm workers, and so on. So from this point of view, there is a great distinction, in my opinion, between socialist society and all societies preceding socialism, because in modern Western society, you can group all social and professional classes in these particular class divisions. In modern Western society, you can group all of them in Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, or intellectuals, productive class, owners of the productive system, factory owners for insurance, and menial workers. But here you have no Vaishyas because you have administrative staffs in factories, and you can call them Kshatriyas. And then there are the Shudras, the workers themselves, but no intermediate class. Srila Prabhupada, that is stated. Kalau Shudra Sambhava. In this age, practically all men are Shudras. But if there are simply Shudras, the social order will be disturbed. In spite of your state of Shudras, the Brahmana is found here, and that is necessary. If you do not divide the social order in such a way, there will be chaos. That is the scientific estimation of the Vedas. Vedas. You may belong to the Shudra class, but to maintain social order, you have to train some of the Shudras to become Brahmanas. Society cannot depend on Shudras, nor can you depend on the Brahmanas. Nor can you depend on the Brahmanas. To fulfill the necessities of your body, there must be a brain, arms, a stomach, and legs. The legs, the brain, and the arms are all required for cooperation to fulfill the mission of the whole body. So, in any society, you can see that unless there are these four divisions, there will be chaos. It will not work properly. It will be Maya, and there will be disturbances. The brain must be there, but at the present moment, there is a scarcity of brains. I am not talking of your state or my state. I'm taking the whole world. I'm taking the world as a whole. Formerly, the Indian administration was a monarchy. For example, Maharaj Parikshit was a Kshatriya king. Just before his death, he renounced his royal order. He came to the forest to hear about self-realization. If you want to maintain the peace and prosperity of the whole world society, you must create a very intelligent class of men. A class of men expert in administration, a class of men expert in production, and a class of men to work. That is required. You cannot avoid it. That is the Vedic conception. Mukha Bahuru Padaja. Bhagavatam 11, 17, 13. Mukha means the face. Bahu means the arms. Uru means the waist, and Pada the legs. Whether you take this state or that state, unless there is a smooth, systematic establishment for these four orders of life, the state or society will not run very smoothly. Professor Kotovsky says, generally, it seems to me that this whole Varnashram system, to some extent, created a natural division of labor in the ancient society. But now division of labor among people in any society is much more complicated and sophisticated, so it is very confusing to group them into four classes. Srila Prabhupada, Confusion has come to exist because in India, at a later day, the son of a Brahmana, without having the Brahminical qualifications, claimed to be a Brahmana, and others, out of superstition or a traditional way, accepted him as a Brahmana. Therefore, the Indian social order was disrupted. But in our Krishna consciousness movement, we are training Brahmanas everywhere, because the world needs the brain of a Brahmana. Although Maharaj Parikshit was a monarch, he had a body of Brahmanas and learned sages to consult, an advisory body. It is not that the monarchs were independent. In history, it is found that if some of the monarchs were not in order, they were dethroned by the Brahminical Advisory Council. Although the Brahmanas did not take part in politics, they would advise the monarch how to execute the royal function. This is not too far in the past. How long ago was Ashoka? Professor says that would be equal to what we call, in our terminology, ancient and medieval India. Yes, Professor. In old and feudal India, you are right. It was very open, and the major part of the high administrative staff in the legislative department were Brahmanas. Even in the Mughal era, there were Brahmanas to advise the Muslim emperors and administrators. Srila Prabhupada, that is a fact. The Brahmanas were accepted. They formed the advisory committee of the king. For example, Chandragupta, the Hindu king, was in the age of Alexander the Great. Just before Chandragupta, Alexander the Great went from Greece into India and conquered a portion. When Chandragupta became emperor, he had Chanakya as his prime minister. Perhaps you have heard this name, Chanakya? Yes. Srila Prabhupada, yes. He was a great Brahmana politician, and it is by his name that the quarter of New Delhi, where all the foreign embassies are grouped together, is called Chanakya Puri. Chanakya Pandit was a great politician and Brahmana. He was vastly learned. His moral instructions are still valuable. In India, school children are taught Chanakya Pandit's instructions. Although he was the prime minister, Chanakya Pandit maintained his Brahmana spirit. He did not accept any salary. If a Brahmana accepts a salary, it is understood that he has become a dog. That is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He can advise, but he cannot accept employment. So Chanakya Pandit was living in a cottage, but he was actually the prime minister. This Brahminical culture and the Brahminical brain is the standard of Vedic civilization. The Manusmriti is an example of the standard of Brahminical culture. You cannot trace out from history when the Manusmriti was written, but it is considered so perfect that it is the Hindu law. There is no need for the legislature to pass a new law daily to adjust social order. The law given by Manu is so perfect that it can be applicable for all time. It is stated in Sanskrit to be Trikala Dao, which means good for the past, present, and future. Professor, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but to my knowledge of all of Indian society in the second half of the 18th century was, by order of the British administration, under a law divergent from Indian law. There was a lot of change. The actual Hindu law that was used by the Hindus was quite different from the original Manusmriti. Srila Prabhupada, they have now made changes. Even our late Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Nehru introduced his own Hindu code. He introduced the right of divorce in marriage, but this was not in the Manu Samhita. There are so many things they have changed, but before this modern age, the whole human society was governed by the Manusmriti. Strictly speaking, modern Hindus are not strictly following the Hindu scriptures. But our point is not to try to bring back the old type of Hindu society. That is impossible. Our idea is to take the best ideas from the original idea. For example, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of the communist idea. It is described to Maharaj Yudhishthira. If there is something good, a good experience, why shouldn't you adopt it? That is our point of view. Besides that, modern civilization is missing one all-important point, the aim of human life. Scientifically, the aim of human life is self-realization, Atma Tattva. It is said that unless the members of human society come to this point of self-realization, they are defeated in whatever they do. Actually, it is happening in modern society. Despite all economic advancement and other advancement, instead of keeping peace and tranquility, they are fighting. Mhm. Mhm. So even with economic advancement, so much others, technological advancement, we fight. Individually, socially, politically, and nationally. If we think about it in a cool-headed way, we can see that in spite of much improvement in many branches of knowledge, we are keeping the same mentality that is visible in the lower animal society. Our conclusion, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, is that this human body is not meant for working hard for sense gratification. But people do not know anything beyond that. They do not know about the next life. There is no scientific department of knowledge to study what happens after this body is finished. That is a great department of knowledge. In the Bhagavad Gita 2:13, it is said, Dehinosmin yata dehe. Deha means this body. Dehina means the one who owns this body. Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. The Dehi, the owner of the body, is within and and the body is changing from one form to another. The child has a certain type of body that changes to another type when he is older, but the owner of the body still exists throughout. Similarly, when this body is completely changed, we accept another body. People do not understand this. We are accepting different bodies even in this life, from babyhood to childhood to boyhood to youth. That is a fact. Everyone knows it. I was a child, but that childhood body is no more. I have a different body now. What is the difficulty in understanding that when this body will be no more, then I will have to accept another body? It is a great science. Mhm. Professor, or let's see. Is there any, let's just pause for any discussion before we continue. I think they'll kind of turn directions here a little bit. Any discussion, questions, comments, reflections?
No, I'm just listening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you this time.
I'm learning how to use it, so it's an interesting discussion, but I don't, it's kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah, most of the point, science of self-realization is meant to be very comprehensible, and concepts are not too much, but we're building a lot of foundational work,
Yeah.
trying to understand many of these little concepts that Srila Prabhupada's discussing throughout. And then when you read the Bhagavad Gita after having gone through this, you'll understand a lot more. And then if you read Bhagavad Gita understanding more and you go through something like the Bhagavatam, then you'll be able to appreciate and grasp the concepts much more deeply.
What is this literature that you're reading? I know it's an interview with this Russian scientist, but what is it called? What's
So
the title of it?
this is the science of self-realization.
Ah, okay, okay,
It's a
okay,
compilation of um, articles from the Back to Godhead magazine over a span of, I don't remember how many years.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Professor Kotovsky. As you know, there are two quite opposite approaches to this problem. The approach is slightly different according to different religions, but at the same time, any religion recognizes and searches for the change of place experience or transmigration of spirit. In Christian religion, in Judaism, in Srila Prabhupada, I am not talking religions with you. I'm talking science and philosophy. One religion may accept one way. That is not our concern. We are concerned with the point that if the owner of the body is permanent, in spite of different changes of the body, there should be no difficulty in understanding that when this body changes entirely, the owner of the body will have another body. Professor Kotowski, another approach is that there is no separation. There are no two phenomena. The body and the owner of the body are the same. Emphatically, no. I don't know how he said it, but Srila said no. Professor Kotowski, when the body dies, the owner also dies. Srila Prabhupada, no, no. But why is there a department of knowledge? Why is there no department of knowledge in the university to study this fact scientifically? That is my proposition. They are lacking. It may be as you say, or it may be as I say, but there must be a department of knowledge to study this. Recently, a cardiologist in Toronto, a doctor, has accepted that there is a soul. I had some correspondence with him, and he strongly believes that there is a soul. So there is another point of view. But our process is to accept knowledge from authority. We have Krishna's statement on this subject, and he is authoritative. Krishna is accepted as the authority by all the acharyas. Bhagavad Gita is accepted by scholarly and philosophical circles all over the world. Krishna says, Dehinosmin yata dehe kamaram yavanam jratata dehantar apraptir dhirasta charnamuyati. Just as the soul gives up the childhood body and comes to the boyhood body, and then to youth, the soul also gives up this body and accepts another body. 213. This statement is given by Krishna, the greatest authority according to our tradition of knowledge. We accept such a statement without argument. That is the way of Vedic understanding. Professor, the difficulty is that our approach is that we do not believe in anything without argument. We can believe only things based on argument. Srila Prabhupada, yes, that is allowed. That is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Pariprashna, argument, is allowed, but not in the challenging spirit, but rather with the spirit to understand. Argument is not denied, but as far as Vedic statements are concerned, they are infallible, and the scholars of the Vedas accept them in that way. For example, cow dung is the stool of an animal. Now, the Vedic statement is that as soon as you touch the stool of an animal, even if you touch your own stool, you are impure and have to purify yourself by taking a bath. According to the Hindu system, after evacuating, one has to take a bath. That is a quite understandable hygienic knowledge. That is quite, yes, that is right. But in another place, it is stated that cow dung, although the stool of an animal, is pure. Even if you apply it to an impure place, that place becomes purified. This is superficially contradictory. In one place, it is said that the stool of an animal is impure, and as soon as you touch it, you have to be purified. And in another place, it says that cow dung is pure. According to our knowledge, it is contradictory. But still, it is accepted by those who are followers of the Vedas. And the fact is that if you analyze cow dung, you will find that it contains all antiseptic properties. Professor, this I don't know. Yes, one professor in a medical college analyzed it, and he found it full of antiseptic properties. So Vedic statements, even if found contradictory, if analyzed scrutinizingly, will prove correct. There may be an exception, but it is accepted. And when scientifically analyzed and examined, it is found to be correct. Professor, yes, if you analyze from the scientific point of view, that is right. There are other instances. For example, the conch shell. The conch shell is the bone of an animal, and according to Vedic instruction, if you touch the bone of an animal, you become impure and have to take a bath. But this conch shell is kept in the deity room because it is accepted as pure by the Vedas. My point is that we accept Vedic laws without argument. That is the principle followed by scholars. If you can substantiate your statements by quotations from the Vedas, then they are accepted. You are not required to substantiate them in other ways. There are different kinds of pramanas, or evidences. Proof by Vedic quotation is called Shruti Pramana. As in the legal court, if you can give statements from the law book, your statement is accepted. So all statements you give, if supported by Shruti Pramanas, are accepted by scholars. I think you know the Vedas are known as Shrutis. Yes. Shruti Smriti Puranari Pantaratra Vidim Vina Aikantiki Har Bhaktir Utpataya Vikalpate. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-2-101. Translation. Any system we accept must be supported by evidences of Shruti, Smriti, the Puranas, and Pancharatra. That which is not proved by these Pramanas is a disturbance. Professor, could I just say one thing? What is in the Vedas could also have been proved in a scientific way. Today, suppose there is a scientific laboratory. What is said by that lab is true. That it is true you accept, without going into the propriety of it. Suppose you have a scientific workshop or institution. In this workshop or scientific institution, or if this workshop or institution says, this is not good, the general body will take it for granted. Yes, the scientific body has said so, so it is understood. Srila Prabhupada, similarly, Vedic authoritative statements are accepted by the acharyas, or great teachers. In India is governed by the acharyas, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Shankaracharya. They accept the Vedas, and their followers accept them. The benefit is that I don't waste my time to research whether cow dung is pure or impure. Rather, because it is stated in the Vedas to be pure, I accept it. I save my time by accepting the Shruti Praman. In that way, there are different statements in the Vedas for sociology and politics or anything, for Veda means knowledge. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto matasmatir jnanam apohanam cha vedaishtu sarva ahameva vedyo vedanta kridveda vedeva chaham. That's Krishna saying that he's in the heart of all living beings, that he gives remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness, that by all the Vedas, Krishna says he is to be known, and that he's the compiler of the Vedas and the knower of Vedanta. Vedanta means the Veda Anta. Veda means knowledge, and Anta means the end. So he knows the end of all knowledge. Professor, may I put one question to you? Have you many branches of your society in the world? Yes. Where is your main center, and where are the branches of the Krishna Consciousness Society? Of course, I have over 65 branches, excepted, what is it? I have over 65 branches, accepted the principles, just like these boys, who have accepted them. Anyway, there seems to be something missing there. Srila Prabhupada points to his two secretaries. Professor, but does that mean that these students abstain from normal Western European universities? For instance, can a normal student from one of the various universities who is attending lectures in the normal way also be initiated and admitted to your community? Srila Prabhupada, if you want to live in our community and be initiated, we welcome you. If not, come, try to understand our philosophy, read our books. There are so many books, magazines, questions and answers. Try to understand the philosophy. It is not that all of a sudden a student comes and becomes our disciple. He first of all comes, associates, and tries to understand. We do not canvass. He voluntarily says that he wants to be a disciple. Professor, what happens if, for instance, one is not a student, but a young worker, or the young son of a farmer? Would he renounce his whole life and join your community in a given center? How would he maintain himself in his day-to-day life in the material life? Srila Prabhupada, as I told you, this propaganda is meant for creating brahmanas all over the world, because the brahmana element is lacking. One who seriously comes to us has to become a brahmana. So he should accept the occupation of a brahmana and give up the occupation of a kshatriya or a shudra. But if one wants to keep his profession and also at the same time understand our movement, that is allowed. We have many professors following our movement. There is Howard Wheeler, a professor at Ohio State University. He is my disciple. He is continuing with his professorship, but almost all the money he is getting, he is spending for this Krishna consciousness. Grihastas, those who are in household or life outside, are expected to contribute 50% of their income for our society. Keep 25% for family and keep 25% for personal emergencies. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches that it does not matter whether one is a grihasta, householder, or in their announced order, or a brahmana or a shudra. Lord Chaitanya says, anyone who understands the science of Krishna becomes my spiritual master. The actual words in Bengali are Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Shudra Kinanai. Do you understand a little Bengali? Professor, a little. Srila Prabhupada, yes. As a vibration, Ye Krishna Tattva Veta, Se Guru Hai. Anyone who understands the science of Krishna can become a spiritual master. Professor, but by creating brahmanas from different social classes of society, you deny the old prescription of the Hindu scriptures. Srila Prabhupada, no, I establish it. Professor, according to all scriptures, the Puranas and so on, every member of one of these four classes of varnas has to be born within it. Srila Prabhupada, no, 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 no. Professor Kudowski, that is the foundation of all the varnas. Srila Prabhupada, no, no, I'm sorry. Professor, the foundation of all the varnas. Srila Prabhupada, you have spoken incorrectly. With great respect, I beg to submit that you are not speaking correctly. In Bhagavad Gita 4:13, it is stated, Chatur Varnyam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. These four orders of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras were created by me according to quality and work. There is no mention of birth. Professor, I agree with you that this is the addition of later Brahmanas who tried to perpetuate these qualities. Srila Prabhupada, that has killed the Indian culture. Otherwise, there would have been no necessity of the division of part of India into Pakistan. Not only that, but from the historical point of view, this whole planet was Bharatvarsh, and it was controlled by one flag up to the time of Maharaj Parikshit. Then it gradually separated. This is history. Later, they have separated Pakistan. Lately, they have separated Pakistan. So Bharatvarsh is now crippled into a small piece of land. Otherwise, according to Vedic scripture, this whole planet is called Bharatvarsh. Formerly, it was named Ilavratavarsh, but since Emperor Bharat ruled this planet, it is called Bharatvarsh. So this culture, Krishna consciousness, was always existent. Consider any religion, Christian, Muhammadan, Jewish, they are at most 2,000 or 3,000 years old. But you cannot trace out the beginning of this Vedic scripture. It is therefore called Sanatana, eternal. This culture is for the whole human society. It is not a religious faith. Religious faith you can change, but real Dharma you cannot change. Try to understand Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita 1866, he says, Sarva Dharman Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Give up all other forms of religion and just surrender unto me. That is real knowledge, to surrender to the Supreme. You or I, anyone, is surrendered to someone. That is a fact. Our life is by surrender, is it not? Do you disagree with this point? Professor, to some extent you surrender. Yes, to the full extent. You have to surrender to the society, for instance, to the whole people. Srila Prabhupada, yes, to the whole people, or to the state, or to the king, or the government, or whatever you say. This surrender must be there. Professor, the only difficulty is that we cannot half surrender to a government or a king. The principal difference is of surrender to a king, to a person, or to the society. Srila Prabhupada, no, that is only a change of color. But the principle of surrender is there. Whether you surrender to monarchy, democracy, aristocracy, or dictatorship, you have to surrender. That is a fact. Without surrender, there is no life. It is not possible. So we are educating people to surrender to the Supreme, wherefrom you get all protection. Just as Krishna says, Sarva Dharma Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. No one can say, no, I am not surrendered to anyone. Not a single person. The difference is where he surrenders. The ultimate surrendering object is Krishna. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Krishna says, Bahunam janmanamante jnanavam mam prapadyate. After surrendering to so many things, birth after birth, okay, Hare Krishna. So many things, birth after birth. When one is factually wise, he surrenders unto me. Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudorlabaha. Such a Mahatma is very rare. How much more is there? It's a long conversation here. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to be able to cover all that. So we can pause here. Okay, any reflections and discussion?
Well, it's pretty informative. I guess you trying to explain that it's not a, I guess it, what do you call that when it's not you're not born into it, but you have to be qualified. And I guess
Yeah.
trying to explain to Kutowski that that was kind of perverted at some time.
Yeah. So Kotowski was putting forward, he was saying that um, the idea that it's by work and quality was a later creation. He was saying that the caste system, the born caste system, is what the original system was. But Srila Prabhupada's emphasizing and restating that Krishna was speaking in Bhagavad Gita, know that this Varnashram Dharma is not by birth, but by um, quality and work. So,
Yeah.
and Srila Prabhupada was emphasizing that this mentality, this idea that Katowski is putting forward is actually the reason that India has fallen apart and it's lost its
Yeah.
spiritual culture.
Yeah, he's from Russia. He's not even from over there, and he's trying to. I don't know. That would kind of be like Prabhupada too. It's like, no, no, no. You're
Yeah.
not even from there, you know.
A lot of scholars, especially in Germany, Russia, they were translating the Vedic literatures. I mean, they still do. But I mean, there's one I was just hearing about yesterday from one um, sannyasi in our movement, and when before he came to Krishna consciousness, he was reading some translations by German scholars, and the scholars they tend to they get into it, but then they make all these different they come up with all these different theories and ideas. They just interpret things in their own ways, and sometimes they're even competing with each other to like I don't know what they're doing, just trying to
They
be
do that.
the best explanation. And
They do that with the Bible too, and they're so high and mighty. Whereas Prabhupada is saying, just follow what the Vedic literature says, and
yeah,
don't.
so basically what these people were doing, they were translating Bhagavad Gita. And because they didn't understand it, they don't know what the Bhagavad Gita was, and they couldn't perceive it as a complete unit and how it's systematically progressing and what is the conclusion of the Gita. They couldn't understand. Therefore, the way they were analyzing was that, one chapter was written at one time by one person, another chapter was written by somebody else at another time, and they were thinking it is all meshed together because they can't see how it's actually flowing. They just take one piece out and they analyze that and they forget about the rest and they see that as its own isolated thing, and rather than seeing the continuity of the entire Bhagavad
Yeah,
Gita.
they call it textual criticism. I think they do that with the Bible too. They
Mhm.
try to they do the same thing. It's a German, mainly a German thing. They do that a
Yeah,
lot.
the German
Yeah.
mentality is very much like
Yeah.
that. So anyway,
Anyway, interesting discussion. What do you got planned for tomorrow?
mm, tomorrow, Saturday,
Oh, yeah, it's the weekend. You're not gonna probably you're gonna be busy.
when I'll be reading because we'll be going out for chanting during the 4th of July, and
Yeah.
then I'll be reading Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing it. It was nice read.
Hare Krishna, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, appreciate it. Your Sanskrit is really pretty good. You translated all that without any. Are you learning? You're learning Sanskrit pretty good.
I mean, I don't know much about it, but some verses I have memorized, and I
Yeah,
because I read Prabhupada's books so much, and not as much as some people, but I do read every day. And
yeah.
then you start to catch on to certain words, you know what they mean, and if you read certain verses over and over again, you know what is in that verse. So there, when you look at the Sanskrit, you can kind of connect.
You pick it up after a while. Yeah, very good.
Not like I don't know grammar, I don't know Sanskrit in any way other than sometimes I have some words memorized.
Well,
Mm.
you fooled me. That was good, though. You interpreted that one pretty good.
I don't actually, I know less than I think. I know enough to get me in trouble.
Yeah, that's good.
Antonio gone. He's coming unmuted, his camera's on. He's ready.
Yeah, I want to say hi to John because finally, yay,
Hey,
you
look
are
at you.
here.
I hope you can't see my ugly face in there, but anyway, I'm here.
I, I know your face. Oh man,
Yeah.
it's good to have you here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's good to
Yeah,
be here. Good to be here.
awesome.
Hare
Thank
I
Krishna.
you,
will.
Patita Pavan.
All right, so we'll call it a night.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Ho. Haribo.
All right, John.
Haribo.
Haribo.